Chapter 281. Anger rages to the heavens. Who is it that dares to act recklessly in front of my Zhong mansion? Zhong Tianhao scanned the surrounding crowd, a stern light shooting out from his eyes as he droned coldly. It had to be said that the might of the Zhong family in Demon Yuan City was indeed powerful. Seeing Zhong Tianhao come out, the crowd watching the spectacle couldn't help but take a few steps back for fear of angering this short-tempered Zhong family head. HMPH, Zhong Tianhao, don't you recognize me? A cold hum came out, and Zhong Tianhao's eyes instantly shrunk when he heard the sound. It's you. Zhong Tianhao was shocked, and not far from him, the purple-robed Kang Tian opened his eyes, his icy gaze gazing at him, his voice grim. I've come to take revenge. I came to take revenge, Kang Tian said in a deep voice. His eyes were like blades, flashing with an icy cold light. He walked slowly, not deliberately releasing a powerful force, but it also made people involuntarily feel a heavy pressure. Although 10 years had passed, his appearance had not changed, and the only difference was that the aura on his body had grown stronger. It's you. Not far away, Zhong Tianhao was as if he had suffered a lightning strike. His face was filled with shock. His eyes stared blankly, as if he was in disbelief. In his mind, a long-ago memory floated to the surface of his heart, and amongst this memory, a domineering figure made it hard for him to forget. He could never forget this domineering purple-clothed youth in front of him. Overlord, Kang Tian, you have returned. Zhong Tianhao's eyes trembled, feeling somewhat unbelievable. Kang Tian had returned. If this news was spread, I'm afraid that the Great Tang Kingdom would be in an uproar. Although 10 years had passed, the cultivation world of the Great Tang country had not forgotten a gem in Kang Tian, mainly because there were too many geniuses that had appeared in the generation that Kang Tian was in, and the most shining ones among them were Kang Tian and Zhao Wuji, who had the skills to overwhelm the crowd and look down upon all the geniuses. Sure enough, it's Overlord. No wonder I feel a bit familiar. So it's the famous hegemon Kang Tian from 10 years ago. Hasn't he already joined the Heavenly Dao sect? I've heard that he's even been accepted by the Elder of Law Enforcement as a personal disciple, so he has a very high status in the Heavenly Dao sect. This is definitely big news. With the Gemini Kangshan returning, the Great Tang cultivation world is going to be unsettled. Hearing Zhong Tianhao's exclamation of surprise, the surrounding crowd was instantly stunned. Then they all couldn't help but float up a domineering figure in their hearts. That overwhelming pride that had moved the Great Tang cultivation realm with its fame 10 years ago, Hegemon Kangshan. Instantly, the entire street of people watching was in an uproar. Immediately after, the news spread throughout Demon Yuan City at a terrifying speed, causing more and more people to gather in front of the Zhong mansion. And when the sons of the other 3 great clans learnt of this news, they also immediately went back to report it. The news of the Overlord's return was very important to the Great Tang Kingdom, and both the younger generation of the Great Tang Kingdom and the older generation of experts were afraid that they would all come to catch a glimpse of the Overlord. Everyone understood that as long as Kang Tian didn't die, his future achievements would be absolutely unlimited, and he would most likely become a hegemonic level figure in the Flood continent. If one could not catch a glimpse of him when he was young, I'm afraid that he wouldn't be able to see him until later. As a cultivator of the Great Tang Kingdom, many people were afraid that they wouldn't give up this opportunity. Overlord, it's my Zhong family's guard who has eyes and doesn't recognize MT. Tai, I hope you won't be familiar with him. If there is any rudeness, I'm here to make amends. The shocked cries of the surrounding crowd caused Zhong Tianhao to recover from his shock. Panic flickered in his eyes, and then he said with a face full of apologies. Many of the people watching secretly sneered, "You, Zhong Tianhao, also had a day when you lowered your voice so lowly. Truly the horizontal is afraid of the strong." Feeling the mocking gazes around him, Zhong Tianhao's heart was very stifled and angry. But at this time, He didn't dare to show the slightest bit of dissatisfaction. His face was full of apologies, and his posture was very low. He was very clear that the Kangchon of today, the Zhong family, couldn't afford to mess with him. And with just one guard dead, he was not willing to offend Kangchon over this. "It seems like you haven't forgotten me." Listening to Zhong Tianhao's words, Kangchon said indifferently. Then his eyes suddenly exploded with light. A pair of stern eyes shot towards Zhong Tianhao, and he said in a deep voice, "Where is Zhonglai? Let him come out and suffer death, and I can spare your Zhong family clan." Considering that he was now a disciple of the Heavenly Dao sect, Kangchon felt that there was still no need to go on a killing spree. There was a debt for the wrongdoer. This time, he only needed Zhonghui's life. Of course, if someone wanted to seek death on their own, then he wouldn't mind having one more dead soul under his blade. As Kangchon's words fell, the surrounding crowd was stunned. They didn't expect Kangchon to come to settle the score with Zhonglai. What kind of matter was this? They hadn't heard that Zhonglai had offended Kangchon. In fact, very few people knew about Zhonglai sending someone to assassinate Kangchon back then, including Zhong Tianhao. Only Zhonglai himself, and that Yuanying stage elder who assassinated Kangchon, knew about it in the entire Zhong family. And other than that, there was also the family head of the imperial capital Li family who knew about it. Therefore, the crowd was very confused about Kangchon wanting to kill Zhonglai. "Overlord, when did my father provoke you? Don't bully others with your power, or else my Zhong family will not rest even if I battle to the last man." Zhong Tianhao said grimly. The anger in his heart could no longer be endured. A mere guard in the district. He didn't think that Kangchon would have to kill his father. This was too overbearing. It was the first time in his life that he had seen someone even more overbearing than him. "I'll say it again, let Zhonglai come out to die. I cannot kill the rest of your Zhong family." Kangchon ignored Zhong Tianhao's questioning. His voice was still icy cold, and a chilling killing aura was in his eyes. Back then, if he didn't have a Yuanying stage puppet, he might have been assassinated by that elder of the Zhong family. With such a great revenge, how could his thoughts be clear if he didn't kill Zhonglai? Joke. Although you are a disciple of the Heavenly Dao sect, you can't kill my father for no reason. If you want to kill my father, step over my corpse first. Zhong Tianhao laughed back in anger as his chi of the 7th level of the Jidan stage erupted and swept forth. He deliberately deadened Kangchon's identity as a disciple of the Heavenly Dao sect, as the #1 sect in the righteous path. If Kangchon were to kill someone today for no reason, even if he was a personal disciple of the law enforcement elder, I'm afraid that he would still be chastised by the Heavenly Dao sect. This was the difference between the righteous path and the devil's path. If it was a strong devil's path, no one would care even if he blood slaughtered 3,000 miles. Because the devil's path was truly the weakest and the strongest, whereas the righteous path still needed a hypocritical skin to cover it up. But Zhong Tianhao was destined to be disappointed this time, because Kangchon was here to kill people today, not to reason. He let out a cold snort, and his powerful aura shot up to the sky, like a hurricane, ravaging the entire space. Boom! Zhong Tianhao's body instantly flew backwards, his mouth vomiting vermilion, his face pale. The surrounding crowd watching was shocked, worthy of being hegemon Kangchon are. With Zhong Tianhao's strength of the 7th layer of the Jidan stage, he was also considered a top-notch existence in the Demon Yuan city. However, even Kangchon's aura was unable to resist. The two sides were not at a level of powerhouse at all. 10 years later, the hegemon Kangchon of that year had already reached a level that they could not reach. Why? Zhong Tianhao collapsed on the ground, his pale face becoming more and more frantic if he roared at Kangchon. Powerless. It was the first time he, Zhong Tianhao, felt so powerless after so many years in Demon Yuan City. In front of the Kang Heaven, he was like an ant, unbeatable. Zhonglai, after watching for so long, how do you decide? Kang Chon ignored Zhong Tianhao and instead coldly looked towards the Zhong mansion, and that pair of stern gaze seemed to penetrate through the layers of emptiness and saw a silhouette. He, who had already comprehended well, was completely able to do his divine thoughts out of his body in advance. And under his divine thoughts probing, Zhonglai had long since come out from his place of seclusion and was secretly watching this place. The look on Kang Chon's face surprised the surrounding crowd. Could it be that Zhonglai had come out of seclusion? Their gazes suddenly looked towards the Zhong mansion when they suddenly heard a sound of footsteps. Alas, a sigh fell. In the eyes of the crowd, a figure with a head full of white hair, trembling, stepped out from within the Zhong mansion. His footsteps were slow, his body swaying, as if he would fall at any time. This really is Zhonglai. The crowd was full of unbelief. The Zhonglai of that year was a dragon and tiger, full of the air of berserker, whereas now this head full of white hair, body trembling, like an old man who has come to the end of the years. Father, Zhong Tianhao also showed an unbelievable color in his eyes when he saw this old man with a head full of white hair. 3 years ago, his father had passed on the position of the family head to him, saying that he was going to be in seclusion for cultivation. According to the lifespan of the Yuanying stage, his father still had a long time to live. So how did he become so old all of a sudden, as if he would die in the West at any time? Zhonglai ignored Zhong Tianhao. His pale gaze looked towards Kang Chon and Xiaojin not far away, and said shakily, "You have finally come." Before his words fell, they were already interrupted by Kang Chon, who frowned as he looked at the greatly changed form of Zhonglai in front of him, and said in a deep voice, "With the dissipation of the Yuanying and the loss of essence, you only have 3 months of life left." Seeing Zhonglai once again, Kang Chon was puzzled in his heart. How did the other party become like this? This was completely out of line with common sense. A Yuanying stage cultivator, unless he was killed, his lifespan was as much as 1,000 years. It was impossible for him to die of old age. Could it be that Zhonglai was dispersed from his Yuanying? This was not right, since the other party was able to break his Yuanying. It would be even easier to kill him. Why would they need to torture him like this? Father. Hearing Kang Chon's words, the surrounding crowd was shocked, and Zhong Tianhao was even more alarmed. However, Zhonglai appeared calm as he looked at Kang Chon faintly, a hint of relief in his eyes. 3 months. Oh, finally waiting for you to come. You take my life. I hope you can keep your promise and spare my Zhong family line. Father, Zhong Tianhao was stunned at the words, and instantly froze as if he were a wooden chicken. Kang Chon coldly looked at Zhonglai, who had a head full of white hair, and the other party also stared at him blandly. His face did not have the slightest bit of fear, but rather was full of relief. Brother, little Jin on the side, looked at Kang Chon. He knew that his brother's heart had softened. Kang Chon slowly removed the blood knife behind his back and held it in his hand, pointing it towards Zhonglai on the opposite side. At that moment, everyone closed their breaths. Zhonglai, who had been running the demon Yuan city for more than 100 years, was going to lose his life in the Yellow Springs today. Father, Zhong Tianhao wailed, but he was pulled back by a Yuanying stage elder who suddenly appeared. This Zhong family elder was filled with sadness. He drank Zhong Tianhao in and sighed. Hao, the old family master, is doing this for the sake of the Zhong family. You have to understand his bitterness. Boom! With a roar, the blood knife in Kang Chon's hand erupted with a brilliant light. A blazing blade on asterisk asterisk, asterisk asterisk asterisk, that was nearly 1,000 feet long came out, as if it was divine punishment, cutting across the void and slashing straight down. People cried out in shock as this brilliant blade passed by Zhonglai's side asterisk 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 and fell straight down from the sky above the Zhong mansion behind him. Rumble. At once, there was a roar of the earth, and the large Zhong mansion was slashed in half by the heavens, leaving behind a chasm so deep that it couldn't be seen from the bottom. Within 3 days, Everyone in the Zhong family will exit Demon Yuan City, or else he die. An ice-cold voice came from the white-haired Zhonglai staring at Kang Chon and Little Gold's back, his face filled with gratitude. Zhong Mansion, in a secret room. Zhonglai, who had a head full of white hair, handed a blood-red elixir to Zhong Tianhao, who received the blood-colored elixir and looked at his father doubtfully.